How do the Cubs like their final games of the series? Flat. All right, Setup Nation, what's going on? It's me, Kyle Stanley, going solo for you on this show, and just want to go ahead and welcome you in. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. It is definitely the best way that you can help us, and we need all the help we can get after a really rough game like that. 3-1 loss. Once again, we do these post-game shows every Sunday through Wednesday, so make sure that you have your notifications on. Make sure you're joining us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. I want to see this comment section lit up right now. And I want to see you guys share this as well. Bring in your Cubs friends, bring in your family, whoever you know that's a Cubs fan, share it with them right now. Not only are we going to talk about today's game, but we're also going to be discussing some pending transactions that are going to have to happen in the next week here on this team. And I'm going to make some predictions. I'm going to show you what I think it's going to do to impact the bullpen and maybe even the starting rotation. Plus, we're going to be looking ahead to the Mets series, which will be very, very important as well. Cubs lose 3-1. They drop to 22-16. Luckily, the Brewers lost today as well, so they keep up with their nice pace ahead of both the Brewers and the Reds in the National League. So really quickly, before we recap this game, no Mother's Day show this week. So make sure you put that on your calendar. Sunday, no Mother's Day show. We will not be discussing anything on Mother's Day. Just go enjoy it with your families. Go enjoy it with your moms. If you are a mom, go enjoy it. Tell your sons and your daughters to take care of you. All right, let's go ahead and recap this one. First inning, Ben Brown leadoff walk right away. And there was a little something that I shared on Twitter, and that was, I'm going to try to do the best I can to remember, but it was something like in 14 home innings, Ben Brown has 12 walks, where on the road, 17 innings on the road, only 2 walks. How do you explain that? Some people think he's amped up at Wrigley Field. Some people think that it's just the cold weather. He's been pitching in really cold weather. I don't know what it is, but that was not a great start to the game. And of course, those leadoff walks kill you. 2 out, single by Wilmer Flores brings around that leadoff walk. And then kudos to the Giants really on this day as well. They spoiled a ton of pitches from Ben Brown. Ben Brown ended up getting 54 swings. There were 31 foul balls, and it just felt like as soon as the Giants got to 2 strikes, they really fouled off a lot of good pitches. So we'll get to giving some more kudos to Ben Brown here in a second. Third inning, Robbie Ray threw over 30 pitches, and they had him on the hook, second and third with 2 outs. Seiya takes strike 3 right down the middle. Not really right down the middle. It was at the knees, but it gets called a ball. Okay, second life for Seiya. Couple pitches later, the exact same pitch, and he takes it again, and this time it is called a strike. If you are wondering, wow, it sure feels like Seiya hasn't been playing all that well, you would be correct. He's 1 for his last 22, and that does include plate appearances, I should say. That is at-bats and plate appearances. That's the same number. In other words, he doesn't have a hit by pitch. He doesn't have a walk. He doesn't have a way in which he's gotten on base, unless it was an error, which I'm not sure if he has been on being an error. He's just not doing the job. And this is the enigma that we kind of go through with Seiya Suzuki, not to mention that Kyle Tucker hasn't been playing at his best either recently. And you combine all that with the wind blowing in today, just wasn't a great look for the Cubs and Seiya Suzuki. Fourth inning, Lamont Wade Jr. doubles to make it 2-0. Christian Koss singles to make it 3-0. Originally, Lamont Wade Jr. is called safe at home from an absolute bullet from Pete Crow Armstrong. And then after the review, he is out. Doesn't matter if Pete Crow Armstrong is having a good day at the plate or not. He continues to do it in the field, and that has been really fun to watch this season. It's why he's in the top, I believe, 5 for F4 for all players across the league. Nico then hits a 2-out double. It would have been gone on any other day. Of course, Nico is the guy that almost hits one out on this day of all players. Ends up going to the Ivy, ends up being a double. And then Pete Crow Armstrong, the very next batter, looked like this was going to be a turning point in the game, pops it up to left field. Ramos can't handle the wind. He had all sorts of issues with the sun and the wind on this day. Drops it. Now the Cubs are only down 3-1. And in the 6th inning, you have Ben Brown. Not Ben Brown, sorry. Let's wrap up the Ben Brown thing. Ben Brown ended up going 5 innings, 9 strikeouts. That's a season high, 2 walks. Unfortunately, they both came around to score. According to Alex Cohen on Twitter, this is now in his last 4 starts. He's got a 3.65 ERA in his last 4 starts. So Ben Brown is definitely figuring some things out. I know a lot of people out there on Twitter are like, Ben Brown is not a starter. Put him in the bullpen. We don't have that luxury right now. Imanaga is down. Steele is down. You've got guys left and right going down like flies. Javier Assad is not going to be on this squad anytime soon. Jordan Wicks finally had a good game. We'll talk about that later on in the show. That's not a luxury that we have. But with what we've got right now with Ben Brown, he's doing the job. So 5 innings, 3 runs, and a little bit of bad luck with that as well. Then in the 6th inning, the Cubs bullpen looks like, once again, this looks like it's going to be a turning point. The Giants get the bases loaded with nobody out, and then Gavin Hollowell gets a double play, John Birdie to the catcher to first base, and you've got yourself 2 outs, and 2nd and 3rd, Drew Pomeranz comes in, gets the strikeout. It felt like the first time that the crowd kind of get into the game. I said it right off the top of the show here. It felt like a flat day. Every single one of these series finales kind of feels flat. Then at that point, 6th inning, base load, nobody out, and the Cubs get out of it. It felt like it was going to be a turning point. Unfortunately, the offense just couldn't get anything going. In fact, Ryan Walker, who is the Giants closer, comes in, who blew the save last night. You feel like this is your only chance to really get a legit opportunity to steal a game from the Giants. Leadoff hit by Carson Kelly. It was the only time all day long, you heard Boog and JD talk about a lot, only time all day long that the Cubs got a base runner on without there being 2 outs. First and second batter of every single inning, 1 up, 1 down, 2 up, 2 down. You're not going to get much going offensively if that's the case. Then Justin Turner with the double play. How much longer can this guy be on the team? I get he's a really good clubhouse guy, but there's not much value that he's bringing to this team right now. He ends the rally. Nico Horner grounds out to end the game, and the Cubs lose this one 3-1. So my question was, and I brought it up a little bit ago here, by the way, as a solo show today, it's going to be tough for me to keep up with all the comments. So I do apologize for those of you that are blowing up the comments. I really appreciate it. Anthony and Break Even Tom, Charles, Mark, Sean. What's up, guys? Thank you for being in the comments. I'm just not going to be able to address a lot of them anytime soon here. One of the things I do want to talk about is this feeling of these series finales. And I've got it up for you right now. The Cubs on series finales. I posted this on X during the game. So now make that 4-9 in series finales, but going into today, they were 4-8 in series finales. And my question was, well, is it series finales or is it just the fact that most final games of a series are played during the day? In fact, one of their only memorable wins in a series finale was against the Dodgers, and that was to win that series in LA, and that was a night game. So in day games, the Cubs have a 242 average. Compare that to night games, 272 average. 431 slug during the day, 463 slug at night, 5.2 runs per game during the day, 6.5 runs per game during the night. That is a massive difference. And then a 4.23 ERA in day games, 3.84 when it is a night game. So almost a half a run difference. This is the big thing for me is when I look at a game like this, and I don't want to, there's not much to dwell on in this game, if we're being completely honest. Yesterday, you felt like you had one that you could have put away. Today, it was just the Cubs never had control. They never had an opportunity. even when they had opportunities, it didn't feel like they really had opportunities. They weren't hitting the ball hard. They weren't really getting on base a lot. Robbie Ray in his 6 innings only allowed 5 base runners. He's been having a really good season. Cubs were getting a decent amount of chase against Robbie Ray. When they don't work walks and they don't work deep counts, it just feels like a different offense. You feel like as you watch this approach with the wind blowing in and some guys struggling in the lineup, it was a lot of just, it didn't feel like there was an approach, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know if you guys were watching the same game as me. Let me know in the comments what you think, but I watched this team, and at the plate, they just looked flat. They just kind of looked like they were going up there. They were just kind of there. I don't know how else to put that. Maybe too, I'm working off a little bit less sleep these days. Maybe that's part of it too. Maybe I just feel flat, but I just felt like this team was flat today. And that's the only way I can really quantify this. And unfortunately, that's all that I'm going to keep on talking about for this, because I don't think there's much more to say. And we've already been talking about this game, this very boring game that the Cubs lose 3-1 and end up having a losing homestand. That's right. It was only a 3-game homestand. And we're going to talk about the Mets series here in a little bit. But now the question becomes, there's going to be some transactions that have to happen. And what I want to preface this with is, first of all, the schedule. So as you can see, we just finished the game against the Giants. Mets coming up after an off day tomorrow. When we look at, there's a couple things that are going to happen in the next week. There's going to be a decision on Saturday. Is there going to be a Chris Flexen start there? Is there going to be a Cade Horton start there? Is there going to be a bullpen day there? And with Tyson Miller now getting towards day 30 of his rehab assignment, if you did not know, you cannot pitch in a rehab assignment as a major league pitcher for more than 30 days. His first game was on April 15th. So that means 8 days from now, Tyson Miller, there's going to be a decision that has to be made. He's pitching lights out in AAA. So there is most likely going to be a decision of bring up Tyson Miller because this bullpen needs you. So looking down on the farm, just to give you a full picture of all this, we have Jordan Wicks with his first really good outing, probably of the year, on May 7th today. 5 innings, no earned runs, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. Ryan Brazier, also his first outing since he went down with that groin injury. 1 inning pitched, 2 strikeouts, no earned runs. He got a double play not a double play, sorry. He gave up a hit as well. Tyson Miller, 8 1/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts, 4 walks. You'd like to see that walk number be a little bit lower, but still, it is what it is. Hey, how about Michael Fulmer, former Cub? He's doing pretty well so far. He has not allowed a run in 4 1/3 innings, only allowed 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. He's on a minor league deal right now. Luke Little, since being demoted, 5 innings, no earned runs, 4 strikeouts, no walks. That's the big number that you want to see from Luke Little. No walks. If he can figure out his command down there in AAA, that could be a weapon. But hey, how about Drew Pomeranz recently? Has not allowed a run since being signed by the Cubs. Didn't see that coming. Keegan Thompson, note here, he's pitching 21 1/3 innings, and in each of his last 7 games, it's been multi-inning relief appearances. So what are they conditioning Keegan for? One of those was a 4-inning relief appearance. Might even been a start. I'm not quite sure. But either way, not sure what they're conditioning him for. Maybe he gets called up at some point to be a long reliever. Doubt he would be a starter. 2.95 ERA in those 21 1/3. How about 30 strikeouts and only 5 walks? And then you have Mr. Cade Horton, who we are hyping up big time. A 1.24 ERA, 33 strikeouts, and 13 walks. So here's the deal. With all this going on, Ryan Pressly may have a IL stint coming up. I don't think that Ryan Pressly, after having his knee drained and then going out there and only pitching 1 day in the next 2 weeks, and then the final day of that 2 week stretch, he then goes out there and gives up 9 runs and doesn't get an out. And I don't think he got a whiff. Did he even get 1 whiff in that game last night? Anyway, I think there is an IL stint coming up for Ryan Pressly. So we'll just assume for a second that allows Tyson Miller to come up. But you look at this and you say, well, why wouldn't you bring up Luke Little? Why wouldn't you bring up Michael Fulmer? Why wouldn't you go ahead and just bring up Ryan Brazier right away? Well, Ryan Brazier, like I said, 30 days for a rehab assignment. You aren't going to be in any hurry to bring up Ryan Brazier right now. Tyson Miller is the one that you're in a hurry to make a decision on. Michael Fulmer has a minor league deal. For that reason, you don't go into any hurry of bringing him up because You like that flexibility. He's not on the 40-man roster yet. If you do a 40-man move, you're going to have to move something around to get him up here. Luke Little has options, and your lefties are pitching really well. Caleb Thielbar and Drew Pomeranz have been doing really well from the left-hand side, so there's not a need for Little right now. Same thing with Keegan Thompson as Michael Fulmer. Keegan Thompson's on a minor league deal. He does not have to be rushed up here. Cade Horton, this is the other one. Not in terms of rushing because of any urgency, but because of what this team needs. So here's what I propose. Looking at what we got down on the farm, why not do these proposed transactions? Presley to the IL, which, again, you have to have a legitimate reason, and I just have a hunch that is going to be a thing. We saw it with Tyson Miller in spring training. I think we're going to see the same thing with Ryan Presley now. Option Hollowell. Why Hollowell? Well, when you look at the current options, it's either Hollowell, it's Palencia, or it's Hodge. Which of those three are you willing to option in order to make room for Cade Horton? Well, I think it's Hollowell. Call up Cade Horton, put him in the rotation. Don't start him on Saturday. Start him in the Marlins series. And then we'll call up Tyson Miller to replace Ryan Presley. That's what I would like to see. And here's what that makes this new pitching look like. The bullpen: Hodge, Palencia, Julian Merriweather, Keller, Tyson Miller, Pomeranz, Flexen, Thielbar. Of course, Flexen becomes your long guy. And then in the rotation, Boyd, Tyon, Brown, Ray, and Horton. I would love to know your thoughts on this. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to see Cade Horton right away. I think personally, I go back to it. I know we've talked about this to death, not just on this show, but also a lot of other shows are talking about it. There's the idea of how many bullets does Cade Horton have in the gun? And I don't think that should be taken lightly. I don't think that there should be this idea of, oh yeah, we'll just keep on letting him do his thing down in the minors because for him, it's just all about repetitions. No, for him, it's all about, he's got legit stuff and you don't know how often he's going to be able to do that while healthy. Now, I hope Cade Horton has a illustrious major league career. I hope he never has to go under the knife again. I hope he never has to deal with a back injury like he did last year. But in case he does, think about how good Ben Brown was last year. If Ben Brown had been doing all of that in the minor leagues and didn't do any of that in the major leagues, where would the Cubs have been? They probably wouldn't even have won 80 games last year. Ben Brown, in the very short time that he was up in the majors, was so dominant and so helpful for the Cubs. I think about the Diamondbacks game. I think about, what was that? 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 run. I think about the Brewers game where he went 7 innings of no-hit ball. Those 2 games alone helped the Cubs win those games. I'm not sure where they would be without Ben Brown in the 40-ish innings that he pitched. If you only get 40 innings from Cade Horton, and it happens to be just in the month of May and June, and God forbid he goes down for another injury, won't you be happy that you did that in the major leagues? And that we're talking about a Band-Aid situation here. We're not talking about long-term. The Cubs are obviously thinking long-term, but for me, this is a win now season. And if it's a win now season, you have to make all the right moves at the right time. And if Cade Horton comes in and he gives you a spot start, let's bring that back up, the schedule. Lots of off days on Thursdays here in May. If you're listening on audio, there's an off day tomorrow, Thursday, May 8th, then the 15th, the 22nd, and 29th. 4 Thursdays off in a row. If Cade Horton struggles in his very first start, put him up against the Marlins. Okay, then keep him up there and put him in the bullpen. See if he can figure some things out in low leverage situations. I don't care which way you do it. There is some flexibility. And I use the word flexibility and also attach that to flexing, because if Cade Horton can't do it, well, now you have Cade Horton in the bullpen and you put Chris Flexen in the starting rotation. I don't think that this is crazy, but I also wonder, is this the move the Cubs are going to make? What do you think? Let's see if anyone's talking about in the comments. I'm going to finally give some time for the comments here. Cade needs to be up, says Matt Scarpelli. Tyson scares me. He has Jerry tendencies. Yeah, sure, I get it. But would you rather have Tyson Miller or Gavin Hollowell? I mean, Gavin Hollowell has had a few nice outings, but I think in terms of consistency, I think I'd rather have Tyson Miller. Let's see. Mike Anderson says, I think the Cubs are fine. They have amazing hitting. I also think they are tired. They had a long road trip with an off day tomorrow, and they will be ready for the series against the Mets. I see Brown in the bullpen if he doesn't develop another pitch. Yes, Anthony Baez, but the Cubs don't have that flexibility right now. I just don't see it happening. I agree with you, Kyle. Miller and Horton is probably a good call. Break even Tom, what's up, Will? He says they are going to skip Shota's start, and if Cade pitches, it will be against the Marlins or the Sox, or like Sean and Colorado, or like Sean said, Colorado at the end of May. I'm not starting him against the Mets on the road. I don't think that he should start against the Mets on the road either. So we'll look at the probables. They're not released yet for the Cubs, but we'll kind of play some what ifs here as we transition to the whole talk of the Mets series. But I want to know from you, if you had to make a decision today, if you had to make the decision today, and you know that decision is going to be for the entire season, Cade Horton, if he's called up right now, he has to stay on the roster. I'm just playing a what-if game. He has to stay on the roster for the entire season. Because the reason I'm playing this game with you is because the thought is that the Cubs have is, we scrap a 40-man roster spot, we bring up Cade Horton, and then we have to send him back down. That's what they're trying to avoid, right? So if you call up Cade Horton right now today, and you have to scrap a 40-man spot, would you do it today, or would you wait until the end of the month / June? So in the comments, today or June. While you guys put that in the comments, we'll look at what you say right after this word from Obvious Shirts. Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Obvious Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts, or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel. Okay, and not a single one of you voted in the comments. Thanks, guys. Is anyone going to answer my question? Again, the question is, do you call him up now, or do you call Cade Horton up in June? What is the difference? What is the different he wasting bullets in Iowa? Anthony, I've already talked about this. I'm not going to keep talking about this. If he gets injured in June, that's what we're talking about. If he gets injured in June or July, like he has in previous situations, that's my concern. He's healthy now. He's throwing well. Bring him up now is my thing. Anthony says now. Sean says now as well. He says J-Mo, Boyd, Ray, Horton, Brown, all sound good over the next 6 games, says Sean. June, says Josue. Okay, that's interesting. I think that's a very front office thought, and that's okay. There's no wrong answer here, but I just want to see him now because of the urgency of this team. So here's what we're looking at. I don't have anything up on the screen for you here, but we are going to talk about this Mets series. So right now, everything is to be determined from the Cubs, yet the Mets have Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, and Griffin Canning, all with ERAs under 3 right now. Now, their track records say that's going to be different. Clay Holmes has been mainly a relief pitcher. This is his first year starting, but Tyler McGill and Griffin Canning say that they are exceeding expectations. I don't know if you can exceed expectations. Meanwhile, the Cubs, if it was a lineup, you would think that it's going to be Tyone against Holmes on Friday, and then Saturday is the question mark. And then whatever happens on Saturday will be clearer for Sunday. So Saturday, you can either go, because there's an off day on Thursday, the Cubs could potentially just go with a 4-man rotation right now and put Colin Ray in for Saturday. If they go with Chris Flexen on Saturday, then you're definitely going to see Colin Ray on Sunday. But if they go with Colin Ray on Saturday, then you're going to see Matthew Boyd on Sunday. So the question is, in this early in the season, do the Cubs go with a 4-man rotation even for 1 week, even though it is an off day and technically everyone's getting regular rest? I lean towards Craig Counsell probably saying no, and it probably ends up being Chris Flexen. Then you've got Colin Ray, and then somewhere in that Marlins series is where I would want to see Cade Horton, and you just give him a start, and that's even more rest for the other guys. So with that being said, that's the question mark is Saturday, and we're probably going to learn more about this tomorrow on the off day. I doubt that the probables even get announced right now. It's probably going to be announced tomorrow, maybe even Friday morning if the Cubs really want to push it. But let's look at this series ahead right now, because the Mets are a really good team. They're currently playing right now against the Diamondbacks. Last I looked, it was scoreless in the 4th inning. They're leading the major leagues with a 2.94 team ERA. They're 7th in OPS as a offense. They're 11th in runs. Now you think about it, right? You think of Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, and then the just going off the rails Pete Alonso. I'm going to talk about some of his numbers in a second. And you wonder why is that way? The Cubs are number 1 in runs, at least last time I looked they were. And the Mets are only 11th, and they have like 3 guys that could get some Hall of Fame votes. I'm not saying each one of those is Hall of Famers, but they could get some Hall of Fame votes. So you look at it, then aside from Pete Alonso, the rest of this offense is really underperforming. Soto's off to a slow start, 5 home runs, 817 OPS. He's a guy that should be close to 1,000 OPS when it's all said and done. Maybe in the low 900s is about the lowest that you think of from him. And then Lindor, having a typical Lindor season, 7 home runs, 817 OPS. That's about what you expect from him. The rest are all 750 or below, basically. But Pete Alonso is carrying this team right now. So Pete Alonso leads the league in all of the following categories. F4, 2.4. By the way, league meaning National League, not Major Leagues. F4, 2.4. Hits, 45. Doubles, 13. RBIs, 34. Batting average, 341. On-base percentage, 463. Slugging percentage, 659. So in other words, his slash line in all 3 categories leads all of Major League Baseball. And that means, of course, that he's going to lead in OPS as well or not Major League Baseball, sorry, National League. His OPS is 1,123, and then his WRC plus is 210. His OPS plus is 220, also leading the league. Oh, by the way, he has 9 home runs, which would also lead the Cubs, be tied for the lead with the Cubs. This series is not going to be easy. And you really wanted this series win against the Giants. You really wanted them to come away with at least 2 of 3. You could have had that. We were 1 squeeze bunt away in the 10th inning last night, or 1 little piece of contact away from a win in the 10th inning last night. So you just feel like this series slipped out of your hands. It's really the first one in a while I can think of that you feel like the series slipped out of their hands. And so for that reason, 22-16. Would you like to be 23-15, 100%? But I look at this as a full week schedule. If the Cubs could go into New York and win a series, a really tough series against some really good starting pitching right now, and shut down Pete Alonso, along with the fact that they have a question mark in their rotation on Saturday, it's kind of a bruised, beaten, battered feel coming into the Mets series. What a lift that would be for this Cubs team right now. So if I can get an amen or something like that in the comments, I would love, love, love to hear what you guys are thinking. But yeah, Sean says, a good test series coming for the Cubs. Let's see. Mark says we are great at sucking great. Go Cubs. I mean, if you don't have bad luck, then what kind of luck do you have, right? And then Will says, on a true getaway days, our only wins are on the road. Phillies series slipped out of our hands as well. Absolutely. True getaway days, I'm guessing you mean because the Dodgers was a 2-game series, so you're not counting that one. That one was at home. Okay says series did not slip out of the Cubs' hands. Giants have a better team and bullpen. You have to give credit to the Giants. They played now they got lucky a lot of times in that game yesterday, but the Giants played a really good game. Again, they battled really well against Ben Brown, and for that reason, I'm not sitting here saying the Cubs beat themselves. They just had a bad approach at the plate today, and the Giants didn't. So kudos to the Giants. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here. Appreciate you running along with me on this solo show. I'm going to go put my arm on ice. We will not see you on Mother's Day. We will see you the day after on Monday. Have a great weekend, and let's go get a series from New York.